what's good? It's Mastermind MMA, and I hope you don't mind the. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to set this sheet up. I don't even know if I'm live right now. Alright, I'm live right now. What up, family? It's fucking Mastermind MMA, and I hope you don't mind the noise in the background. That's the AC. It's way too motherfucking hot to turn that bitch off, so might hear that in the back. Yeah, so I wanted to fucking just stream live real quick, recap UFC Auckland. About to pull up the motherfucking fight card and go through what I saw. I was in Long Island for a bit, so I was driving back and forth, and then not back and forth. I just made a quick trip. I was there watching it, and then I came to my house in New York, and then so I missed a few fights, but I was streaming it in the car too. So I think the only thing I missed was what's his face, Brunson and Kelly. And let me pull this bitch up. So yeah, man, it was a good card, lots of finishes. I think a lot of the hometown people won, if I'm not mistaken. Fucking brutal knee by that one dude. I can't remember his name right now. But I'm trying to pull this shit up, so yeah. Alright, so where should I start off? I'll start off at the main card. Alexander Volkanovski defeated Mizuto Hirota by decision. I don't really remember that fight. I have to see them to fucking boost my memory. But I did see that fight. Yeah, but it wasn't that great. And Sea Level Kane, what up, man? How you doing, brother? Yeah, and all right. So Ben Nigan and Tim Elliott. So that was a good ass fight for the 47 seconds it lasted, and yeah, man. So I thought Tim Elliott was gonna win it. He showed he has really elite jiu-jitsu, and he showed that he has really good scrambles and transitions, especially the flyweight division. It's like all of them are a minimum black belt, so we see a lot of scrambles there, but we didn't really see a lot of submissions. With his last fight with Louis Smolka, their whole fight was just scrambles and transitions with hardly any submissions. But in this fight, we saw fucking the whole thing start. We saw the scramble, and then, dude, I think Tim Elliott went for a head and arm choke, got his back taken. Ben Wynn sunk in his hooks, and then Elliott stood up, tried to get a hook out, and then Wynn fucking just got the arm under the chin and then choked him out. And fucking like at 4:12, you know what I mean? So it's like 47 seconds. And fuck, man, you got a new contender at flyweight. That division is so light that, with a win over Tim Elliott, he might be next for title, honestly. Or like right up there with a contender. If he faces like a Cejudo or a Benavidez next, he's right up there. But honestly, I think like Elliott is right up there with the Cejudos and Benavidez's of the division. Dan 240Z, what up, man? How you been? Yeah, man. So that kind of really kills Tim Elliott's momentum right now because of the performance, how fast that shit was. So you get caught. It's kind of the same as getting slept. I don't think he should have went to take out that hook first, because that's literally what got him caught. That happened to someone else. I can't remember the card, but a very recent card, someone got choked out because they went to take out a hook, and then I can't remember. I feel like it's at the tip of my tongue. It's not important, but yeah. So he went to take out the hook, and he got caught, and that's that, man. So if he gets one more impressive performance, he could be right back in there. But he was really on the route to a rematch with DJ, but that really kind of derailed it a bit. Now, what was the next fight after that? Ian Cutabala and Henrique de Silva. Oh yeah, dude, he got knocked out pretty wild. Yeah, man, that was a good fight. I want to go to the Dan Hooker Ross Pearson fight because that was a good ass fight in the sense of it was close and they were edging it. I had Ross edging it. I was talking to my boy MMA from the Heartland, and he was saying like, yeah, I had Dan edging that before he got knocked out, which I totally agree with. And the funny thing is, I was in the car, so that's when I was on the way to my house in New York, and then fucking I was streaming it off my phone, and then when I looked at something, I think we were like passing by the airport, and a fucking plane was like coming in to land, so it was really close. And I went up and I looked at it really quick, and then all I see like from my peripherals is fucking Ross Pearson just hit the canvas, and I'm like, oh shit, what did he get knocked out with? And then when they show the replay, I see that brutal fucking knee. And honestly, man, like Dan Hooker, he wasn't really on my radar before this. You know what I mean? He's a hometown guy. He's from New Zealand. His last win was, or his last fight was against Jason Knight, and he lost that fight. That was at the Whitaker versus Brunson card, and he lost to Yair Rodriguez, which was at 192 via a unanimous decision. He lost that. Who else did he fight? Yeah, man, not too many. I think he came into the UFC around like 2014. He fought at like AFC, which is like a local Australian regional thing. So I mean, now he's, oh, Dan, what's up, brother? Yeah, so he was yeah, so when I did that streaming of, because I streamed like the last round of Mark Hunt and Derek Lewis, and I was just like, fuck it, I wanted to stream that really quick, so I just pulled out my phone and then I put it up to the TV. So and I forgot to turn down the audio of the TV, so I was like talking while the audio is going. So I think that, I don't know, my boy Dan said that if the audio is there, it gets copyright. So literally while I was streaming that shit, it was like, all right, your stream we might have fucked your stream because you're doing copyright infringement. And I was like, ah, shit, I hope that doesn't fuck with it, because if I get a strike, if you get a copyright strike, they don't let you do live streaming. So that kind of fucks with the plans me and Dan got. So I'm glad that I didn't get the strike and I can live stream. So, oh, I didn't even see. Sea Level Kane said Ross needs to retire. Yeah, I mean he's definitely at a gatekeeper status. I remember when Will Brooks came into the UFC, they gave Will Brooks Ross Pearson, and then he won that. So I mean, he's really kind of like a gatekeeper status right now. Not even gatekeeper, because he's kind of a guy that can welcome people to the UFC now. Um, that's how he had him, but I'm not seeing any contention. I could be wrong. People get resurgence, but I mean, for the sake of his chin, I think he needs to call it a fucking day. And when Dan Hooker hit him with that knee, it sent his fucking mouthpiece flying in the air. And then I remember he followed up with like a few hits. I remember when he woke up from the canvas, he was like smiling. I'm like, why the fuck is the guy smiling? But the doctors were checking if he had any of his teeth knocked out, and I was like, shit. Sea Level Kane said he's a journeyman. Definitely agreed. He is definitely a journeyman. My boy Dan said I can almost agree with that. He was doing really good, but he got caught hard. Yeah, he really did. And the fact that like he got caught by Dan Hooker. I mean, no offense to Dan Hooker, but that's kind of, I mean, Dan Hooker made his name off Ross Pearson that night. So I feel bad for the guy. I mean, for his sake, besides for earning money for the family, I don't know. I don't know if it's smart to take that damage. And what's it called? So, and then you had Derek Brunson versus Dan Kelly, which I totally missed. And then Dan texted me, and then he was like, oh, who do you have in this next fight? And then he was like, oh, I got Brunson by knockout. And I was like, I think Dan Kelly's going to get this one. I mean, Dan Kelly's going to get this one because he's so awkward, where, because he's a southpaw, he leads with his right foot forward, and when he's facing orthodox fighters, their lead feet kind of meet up with each other. So he uses that to kind of always trip them and judo trip, and he's really awkward as shit. So I thought that he was just going to be too awkward for Brunson, and he might like edge out a decision or something. But boy was I wrong, and boy was Dan right, because fucking Brunson just slept him. Like literally, the Ross Pearson fight just happened, and then I turned off the stream in my car because I was almost home, and then I was like, what, maybe like 5 minutes away from home, and then I get home, and then I turn on the TV, and then they're literally announcing Derek Brunson via knockout. I'm like, I wasn't even gone for that long. How the fuck did I miss, like, the walkouts, the fucking inspections and shit, the fucking announcements, and the whole fight? Like, that shit was crazy that Brunson got that so fast. I don't know what that really does to Brunson. Any good performance in the middleweight division right now could kind of get you in. It could get some hype built, could get people talking about you. I mean, look at Bobby Knuckles. I mean, he had, before Jacare was the fucking Derek Brunson fight, I think. So I mean, he knocked Derek Brunson out and then got the Jacare fight, and then now he's fighting for a title basically. So it's pretty crazy. So Brunson could get a big name, and if he wins that, off to the races. MMA from the Heartland said, to be honest, I did pull that out my arse. I just thought Brunson was gonna be on fire, but yeah, you call that shit to like a T. I was totally fucking wrong. I gave Dan Kelly way too much credit, because I thought Dan Kelly was gonna be. I didn't think he'd get clipped up like that. And then I saw some highlights on Instagram or some shit of the fight. I never went back and watched it, but I remember the Rashad Evans fight. Dan Kelly was talking about how fucked up his knee was, and that he had the brace. And then I remember I saw fucking Derek Brunson. He was just fucking John Jones kicking the shit out of that knee. He was like aiming for that shit. So I mean, in a fight, technically that's the smartest thing to do, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that was a cheat move if someone's injured and you just like chop their leg? It's kind of like TJ Dillashaw, Dominic Cruz, you know what I mean? When they fought, TJ was just missing. He was punching air the whole fight, and then towards the end of the fight, he just started chopping at Dominic's leg, knowing that my guy went through like so many reconstructive surgeries. So is it cheap or is it a tactic? I don't know how I feel about that yet. You know what I mean? I kind of feel it's a bit cheap, but it's troll buster. Nope, fuck that leg up. I could definitely agree with that. And then MMA from the Heartland said Kelly thought he had plenty of range, and Brunson got inside too quick for Kelly. Kelly never put his block hand up. He kept it down, trying to keep the distance. Yeah, that's definitely true. It's I don't know what that really does for Kelly, because he had momentum kind of off of the Rashad fight. Wasn't that great of a performance, but he definitely did better than everyone expected. So I don't know what he goes from here. I don't know. He kind of seems a little, I don't know, with the knee injury and stuff, and then after that performance, it's honestly, he had kind of the equivalent performance of what Brunson had against Whitaker. How Brunson just fucking came in like he was just, the way Derek Brunson fought Robert Whitaker, it's honestly like you bumped into some drunk guy at the club, he got pissed off, and he just started swinging at you, and you're just backing up like, what the fuck, and then you clip the dude. So Dan Kelly didn't fight that smart, and I don't know what that really does for him. So I mean, it hurts him definitely. I don't know how much a win over Brunson would help. It might get him kind of in talks, but I don't know. It doesn't really do much for Derek Brunson either, because Derek Brunson, what do you get with a win over Dan Kelly after you're fucking kicking the shit out of his leg and then knock him out like that? Doesn't really do much for you, So I mean, I guess it gets you back in the win column after Anderson Silva. Which, I mean, I thought Anderson. I mean, I don't know if Anderson Silva. I'm glad Anderson Silva got the nod in that fight though, because Brunson was way too tentative, and it was like an overcorrection, because he went in too wild in the Bobby Knuckles fight, and then he was like way too tentative in the Silva fight, and then he came out bitching like, I outclassed the greatest of all time, and da 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 da, and it was it was like it wasn't, I don't know, it was a put off after that performance, and that the way he was talking after that. And MMA from the Heartland, I don't know if it's cheap. It's a fight. In war you go for the weakest part. If they had a hurt jaw or weak jaw, you'd be going for that more than normal. I think it's legitimate. Don't tell your injuries before. If your legs can't be kicked, then box. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that makes sense. If you're gonna make it obvious, then that's gonna be the thing. If you're gonna say after your last fight, come in with a knee brace and be like, "Yeah, I have a torn ACL," I mean, then don't get mad when people start fucking kicking the shit out of your leg. So, I agree with that. And all right, to the main event of the evening: Mark Hunt versus Derek Lewis. All right, so I didn't really have a pick in that fight, but I wanted the Black Beast to win. I'm a big fan of Mark Hunt too. I'm a big fan of the Black Beast. He's some new blood in the division, and all right, I'm gonna start from the end of the fight and work my way back. I don't agree with that stoppage, man. That stoppage to me was kind of bullshit because he wasn't out. You know what I mean? Just look at fucking Pat Barry and Czech Congo. No matter how much people are covering up, they could always come back. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean it's over in that moment. Like, he wasn't saying no mas. You know what I mean? He was just covering up. It definitely looked like he wasn't trying to be in there anymore. But let him go out on his shield, because Derek Lewis definitely has that power. If Mark Hunt's swinging for the fences, one punch could just end everything. So that shit is fucked up. That stoppage is bad. You know, I don't like. I just don't like the way Derek Lewis fought that fight, because at that it shows a problem with fight IQ. Now, I don't know how many factors and variables could be in it, because you could look at so many different things, because um MMA from the, all right, so Dan 240Z said disappointed by Lewis, should have won that fight. Definitely agree. MMA from the Heartland said I can agree with his back injury. If you see the end, how he's holding his hands back, that's back pain for sure. Dude is tough as fuck. And Steel Level Kane said him and Johnson very gifted but not very disciplined. I agree with everything you guys are saying, because you know if that back injury was the reason for that performance, I could see that. That makes a lot more sense. And I'd give Derek Lewis the benefit of the doubt, because when he fought Travis Lewis, not Travis Lewis, fucking Travis Brown, and he said the whole "I had a boo boo" thing. Travis Brown broke his ribs, so he didn't even say that then. Sea Level Kane, I already read that. Trollbuster, Lewis disappointed me. MMA from the Heartland, yeah, it was a mercy stop. It's crazy to me that it wasn't talked about that much. Yeah, you see, that's the thing. I don't know how people are really cool with it. I don't know if people just saw that Derek Lewis didn't want anymore and they agreed with it, but to me, I feel like that you can't stop a fight like that, because if you look at the Chris Weidman Vitor Belfort fight, Vitor Belfort was pouring it on Chris Weidman, and then he was just in the corner covering up, and then he took him down right after. So, and then Chris Weidman took Vitor down right after and TKO'd him via ground and pound. So you can't end a fight when people are covering up. Look at Max Holloway, Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo blitzed in with a flurry, threw a crazy combo, ended it with a knee. If the ref stepped in during that flurry when Max was covering up, like, we wouldn't have, it wouldn't be the blessed era. You know what I mean? So I just don't agree with that, because that's not letting a fight run its course. I agree with you have to save the fighter from damage, but he wasn't getting clipped up to the point where he was taking a lot of damage. You know what I mean? MMA from Harlan said I don't know if I read about the mercy stoppage comment. Yeah, I think I did. All right, so he said he never set up the switch kick or anything, really just swang and banged. Well, kind of. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Um MMA from the Heartland, it wouldn't have been stopped like that anywhere but Auckland. 100%. And I'm getting tired about hometown bias because it's getting crazy with how much that plays a part. You know what I mean? I could get when people get the nod and stuff like that, but I retract that statement. I don't even get it because I think bitch bang is like what? Oh, and he's at least 0-2 in my opinion in his last fights in the UK, but he's 2-0 on paper. You know what? He fucking got knocked out by Anderson Silva and won that fight via decision. How does that work? Literally. All right, even if you want to score the fight, homie got flying knee, knocked out, came back in the fourth round. Fifth round, got his ass whooped. Anderson Silva front kicked him and had him stumbling all the way across the octagon, and he got the decision. Dan Henderson put him to the canvas, he dropped Hiroshima, and then he dropped Nagasaki, and Bisping still won that fight. So this hometown bullshit is getting way too crazy. Not the fact that it's only the UK. Just we've seen it play a role a lot. And I mean, people could even argue in Brazil with Vitor Nate. That was kind of a shit fight, so I'm not gonna argue that. And Dan 240Z, Lewis needs to cut some weight for his back and improve his cardio. I didn't even think about that. That's definitely true because the weight, like when you're overweight, that fucks your lower back up. So I mean, he's probably cutting down to get to 265. So I could see that being an issue, because that might be the root of it. It may be from injury, but if he definitely loses weight, that would help him. And all right, enough about the hometown stuff, but when back to what MMA from the Heartland was saying, he never set up that switch kick. So he started off with the low kick. He was kicking the leg, and then sometime he would go up top. So that level change isn't enough because Mark Hunt's not going to drop his hand for leg kicks. He's going to check the kicks. Lewis should have been going to the body and then to the head, because once he goes to the body and then has Mark Hunt thinking he might be going to the body, then Mark Hunt will drop his hands and then boom, up top, knockout. Lewis is a very agile guy for a big guy. I remember one time he fucking threw a spinning kick against Travis Brown. Like, he totally missed, but the fact he threw it was... And his technique actually wasn't that bad. So he could pull some shit off, and... he... Technically, man, he just didn't make the adjustments, He was doing the Tyron Woodley game plan, which is come back to the fence, put your back against the cage, bait them in, and, just circle. But he had his back against the cage. He had his back against the cage. He had his hands down. He was circling to one side only. He wasn't switching directions. He wasn't feinting. He started off kind of feinting with the kicks and shit in the beginning of the fight. But he was doing more kick feints than anything. But he just completely stopped that. And then when he would put his hands on his waist later on the fights, when he put his hands on his hips, I thought that he was kind of trying to bait fucking Mark Hunt in. But, I thought if he kept his hands so low, he would throw the uppercut. That's what he was looking for. But that really might have been him just gassed the fuck out, man. I don't know what's up with that. MMA from the heart. All right, so MMA from the Heartland said, and not just that, dude was straight up eating ribs before his fight. Even had his fight kit on. I didn't even see that. That's crazy. And Dan240Z said, he said during an interview he walks 285. Damn, that's a big boy. Yeah, man. So he was not doing the damn thing. He was technically just not being smart. And not only that, he didn't make adjustments. So the backing up, baiting Mark Hunt in wasn't working. So it even his corner said in between before the last round, he said, "Listen, we're backing up way too much. We need to come forward and we need to put pressure." I think his cardio won't allow him, and I think maybe he was just trying to recover and just catch Mark. MMA from the Heartland said, "Could you imagine the monster he'd be on TRT Legends League?" I think Derek Lewis on TRT. I think that shit should be illegal. Like that should be in a cage, and that would be that's literally a WOMD or a WMD because fucking he already drops bombs normally, and if he's fucking enhanced on steroids, that I think TRT Derek Lewis is the GOAT. I'm calling it. TRT Derek Lewis is the motherfucking GOAT. Imagine if he just comes like shredded like Uberim. Oh, that'd be fucking scary. But man, bad now to address the retirement. Fuck, man. Derek Lewis, don't retire, bro. I don't believe he's gonna retire. I think he just needs a break. I think the disappointment was... Because, I don't think retirement was in his plans because he wouldn't be setting up his next fights. And it might have been he overlooked Mark Hunt a bit because he was trying to get the bed ready for... I shouldn't say it that way. It sounded wrong. But he was trying to set shit up with Francis. And he was trying to get that fight. He was like, I'll fight Francis right after I beat Mark Hunt. And before, I think for like the past 3-4 fights, he was saying, I'm done after this for a while. I need a break. After the Travis Brown fight, when they're like, who do you want next? He was like, yo, don't even talk to me about fighting. I don't want to fight at all. I need a break. And the fact that he said it's probably his last, he doesn't want to put his family through it anymore. That's like, I mean, did you not think about that before you became a fighter? Like, that doesn't sound like a legitimate enough reason because, when I'm not saying anything. It must be really rough on the family, but I just think that's not reason enough, you know what I mean? And the fact that now you're gotta look at Dana White's perspective when he was like, if they even think about the R word, they should do it. I just think he needs a break. I think he's taking a break and he'll come back. I don't think it's the end of it, especially a guy like him. I don't think he wants to go out on that note because after his performances against I forgot that guy's name, but when he headlined that card in somewhere upstate New York, he headlined the card and it was like a whack performance, and then he like ground and pounded that guy and finished him, and he's like, oh, I don't like that performance. And he's critical of himself, but he's objective about it, so I don't see him being the type of guy to go out on that note. Dan240Z says Overeem TRT versus TRT Lewis. Oh shit. That would be fucking wild. Overeem TRT versus TRT Lewis. I wonder who would win. I would definitely say TRT Derek Lewis because fucking Uberim is just the meathead. He's not technical. This new Overeem is really technical. So he's a smarter fighter, but TRT Overeem is just like, he's like, oh, it's just like a grunt, it's just like the fucking monster. He just like fights like a meathead. So I think Lewis would catch him on that. Yeah, MMA from the Heartland said, I don't think any refs would volunteer for that one. Yeah, man. Like, imagine at the 10-second mark, trying to step in to end that shit. Fuck that. Like, that's death. That is death if you get clipped. I think in that situation, someone might die. Like, I think it'd have to be in Japan, most definitely. TRT Overeem versus TRT Lewis. 100% that shit needs to be in Japan. And it has to be a fight to the death. because I don't see anyone like you're either gonna fucking the loser's either gonna walk away crippled and just like brain dead, or they just gonna die. Like it's just that simple. So I think that yeah, let's start this fucking Legends League. Vitor has some. Let's just get wild. Just who wants to do steroids and have the people roided up fight other people roided up. Like it's Pride. Bring back Pride. Fucking Dan 240Z said Ryzen, but you see Ryzen doesn't. I know it's the same like people from Pride, but doesn't have that Pride feel. It's like a little too freak showy. They need to have it like a. You see, Pride was like a real organized freak show. They had it down. They need to get that science back. But I'm saying like they should just start this shit off, and I think Ryzen would pick up. Like they just let people get roided up, and I think they'll get some momentum. Like if you get names like that, if you get Vitor, but look at fucking Crocop, bro. Crocop won the Ryzen Grand Prix tournament, and he was roided to the fucking gills. So I think they need to do that. Shit, I might go to Japan and start like a Legends League at that rate. Yeah, man. So I don't know, Derek Lewis. I don't think he's gone. He didn't have a good performance, but on the flip side, Mark Hunt needed this. If Mark Hunt lost this fight, if Mark Hunt got knocked out, he'd be on a 3-fight skid, and he's at odds with the UFC. So he would be fucked, really. But he is a draw, especially in his hometown. And I was talking to MMA from the Heartland about it, and he was saying like, yeah, you know what? Regardless the problems you have with the UFC, if you're a draw, they're gonna work with you. And I didn't even think about that until he said it, because it's true. Because when you look at someone like Al Iaquinta, they don't even have Al on this Long Island card that's coming up. Which I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I go to that card? Because fucking ringside seats are only $300, and that shit is fucking cheap as fuck. So I might actually go and sit ringside for that shit. If I go and I sit ringside for that, I will live stream that shit. So I'm thinking about it, man. I don't know, because I'm not trying to go if Chris Weidman's gonna lay and pray. But it should be a good fight, you know what I mean? I might go. I don't know, man. I haven't decided yet. So Mark Hunt, man, he needed that performance. He pulled the performance off. He said, I want someone above me, ranked above me, or I want Overeem again. Overeem's a cheater. How do I feel about that Overeem's a cheater thing, man? I think that's kind of, I don't know. Regardless of if that's how he feels, it just sounds bitter because you got knocked the fuck out by Overeem. But I could see that, they're not really helping Mark Hunt. I mean, the UFC isn't really helping themselves because they let Overeem use the IV and shit like that. So honestly, you never know. I mean, like, what if they're like, all right, Overeem, we want you to get Mark Hunt out of here. Here's a little supplemental IV for you before you go in to help you. I doubt it, but I mean, we really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. MMA from the Heartland, go to it. If there was one by me, I'd be there. Love live shows. Yeah, I'm actually heavily considering it. I really might go. Yeah, man. So fucking Hunt, this is exactly what he needs. I think Hunt has a few fights left on his contract, 2 to 3. If he wins this shit, man, if he wins like the next 2, I don't know if he'll get a title shot. I don't know if the UFC would be willing to give him a title shot, because that wouldn't be smart to give someone you're at odds with that much leverage. But all bullshit politics aside, I think if Mark Hunt wins the title at 43 years of age, or 44, however long it might take, and then retire, he just cemented his legacy on some other shit. In reality, that's how Dan Henderson should have went out. Dan Henderson should have won the title against Bisping. I had him winning that fight most definitely, and he should have vacated the belt and just rode off to the sunset. But he didn't, so that's kind of fucked up. MMA from Harlan. I personally don't think Hunt looked great. He looked normal, just sat and waited. He played a smart game, but nothing special. 100% agree with you, man. Mark Hunt didn't look phenomenal. You know, he didn't have a like how Gustafson had a standout performance against Glover. It just looked like, you know, they were both kind of even, and then it was really a matter of who would land first. But then it just became Lewis got gassed, and Lewis kind of just gave up. You know what I mean? So Mark Hunt, man, I don't know if I want to see the Overeem rematch right now, but maybe give like Mark Hunt fucking Francis Ngannou or something, you know, or give Mark Hunt someone like that, or maybe even like rematch JDS or some shit like that. You know, I don't know if they want to put him in any contention spots, but because you know Lewis could have made a name off of Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt proves that he's not a stepping stone by winning this Lewis fight, but I don't know. Who do you guys think is next for Mark Hunt? Yeah, I just wanted to get on this live stream really quick because I wanted to make sure I could still fucking live stream. And yeah, so I'm probably gonna be out right now, so I'll be putting up some videos today. And I appreciate everyone up in this bitch. Shout out MMA from the Heartland, Dan 240Z, Trollbusters, Sea Level Kane, everyone up in here, man. I appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, so I'll be doing some videos today, guys. I appreciate it. And you already know it's Mastermind MMA.